Hey, it's Kevin Twitch here, and welcome to another tip, trick, or technique session. In this session, we're going to talk about end of phrase delay automation. So firstly, if you are new to my channel and you're new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So end of phrase delay automation. It's a long sentence. So what I'm talking about here is having the ability to automate and control a delay effect on, say, a vocal where it only comes out at the end of a phrase or end of a sentence. You may have a great sounding delay, but having it on all through the vocal may just confuse the sound, muddy up all of the words, etc., and just really create an unpleasant sound. But it may be something that you can add or automate just to the end of the phrase to fill in that gap between sentences, between phrases, whatever you want to call them, and just add that little bit of extra just so that you just don't have an empty space at the end of it. So I'm going to show you how I do it here, and we'll just get into it, and I'll show you now. Okay, so we've got a vocal track here, and I'm just going to turn read automation off first so that you can hear what I was sort of had to play with. I'm just going to extend this out.
It took too long.
Now you can hear there's delays already on this, okay? So if we open it up here, and you can see there's plenty of sends on this. We've got lots of reverb. So let's just get this back to some basics here and turn some things off. Let's just turn all of those off. So our raw vocal track minus this processing sounds like this.
It took too long.
Okay, so very dry. Okay, but what we want to look at is a delay effect, okay? Because I wanted a generic delay effect that was applied across the entire vocal. It was enough there to add some atmosphere and texture to the vocal, but not get in the way of the words. You could still hear the words clearly. It was not overpowering. Okay, so once I processed that, what we ended up with is, and we add the reverb in as well.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now.
And if we put that in the mix, we ended up with this.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rather cold.
So when I had it in solo, you could hear there was quite a lot of processing and reverb delays, etc. And it almost sounded like it was probably too much. But when you put it in the mix, you can't hear it so much. And you can hear here, there's some parts at the end of the phrases which just lack something.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rather cold.
So what I wanted to do is these spots here where the phrases ended and there's just a big gap. So there and there, I wanted to add some more delay effect to it, and I wanted to automate something into that process. So you can either do this by adding extra delays or just increasing the volume of the delay you already have in there. So if we now put this back into write mode, now what I did was, you can see here, I drew some automation. So if we just play it, you'll see here that jumps up. And what we're doing is we're changing how much of the signal we send to our delay track. Okay, so this is our delay track here, which is the vox.sfx. Now, if we scroll down to our vox.sfx, you'll see here we have a delay plugin, and it's this relayer plugin. And what happens with delay effects is that the more signal you send into the delay, especially when you're doing it in a parallel effects channel, as I'm doing here, because I'm running it in parallel, the more you send to it, the more delay you get. So the louder the delay becomes, the more presence the delay becomes. If you want to reduce the amount of delay you hear, you reduce how much signal you send to it, because we've got this set to fully wet. Okay, and we're not adjusting the volume. We've also got the delay effects channel here set entirely to 0. So just to sort of prove the point here, I'm going to put the vocal in solo, and I've turned read mode off. Okay. Now, if I play this with this setting here, and this is my generic setting. Okay, so this is the setting I set it to get the delay on 90% of the track.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber.
Now, to prove my point here, so if I bring this up in level, you'll hear that the delay suddenly becomes way more present, more in your face, and starts to potentially overpower the main vocal.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber cold.
Okay, so that's just by adjusting this send. So I'll do it live while it's playing so you can hear the true impact of this delay. So if we go all the way down.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber cold. You know my ways. I said I lost my way that night.
Okay, so now if you look at, so hopefully that makes it pretty clear of what this send is doing. The more we send to the delay, the louder the delay is, the more overpowering the delay is. So if we put our cursor here in the spot where I did the boost, and I'll just turn read on here. So suddenly, as soon as I do that, we end up at minus 6.87. So now I'll turn the read off. And if I play this track with the delay at that setting, this is what you will hear.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber cold.
Right, and if we put it in the mix,
it took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber cold.
you can hear it's quite messy, it's overpowering, it's getting in the way of the vocal, it's confusing the lines there. Okay, so I didn't want that. But I obviously wanted that level in the gap there, because in this gap, without that, with that level down at the setting here, which is what, so this setting here is what I like during most of the phrases. So we end up sounding like this. Sorry, turn the read off. So we've got it down to our low level now.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rubber.
A vocal is clear, the delay's not getting in the way, it's not doing anything silly there at all. Okay, but it's not helping us in this end of phrase here. So the best way to do that was for me to automate this send. Okay, so all I do is I basically just get this send here, which is this control here, and I drew in some automation. So if we expand that out, you'll see this here is the last word. So if I put the cursor here, we just solo it. That is the last word of the phrase. So I drew in automation for the delay send to suddenly increase in volume just on this last word. So what that does in theory is it just means that the delay is going to be quite loud for that one word, which is going to trail off in this quiet part here. So if we go back to our phrase here and we have a listen,
It took too long. It's the wrong time now.
right? So it only did the increase for this last word. So you just get that last word repeating quite loudly. And the rest of the words in this phrase were down at the lower level. So they just got a little bit of delay on them, but nothing over the top. And then what you end up getting then is when you do that in the track, you get clear vocals through all of the parts and you get a big delay on the end of this phrase.
It took too long. It's the wrong time now. I'm feeling rather cold. You know my ways. I said
Now, originally when I did this mix, I also had it on this word here, but the client gave me some feedback and said that they preferred that word not to have it on it. But if I wanted to go back to doing that, it's quite simple. Okay, so all I need to do is draw in my automation that I want, and I'm going to bring those up. And we can bring it up to whatever level we want. And let's just make that straight. And that's straight there. You know, we could go extremely high if we wanted to. And now I've drawn that automation in.
feeling rather cold.
Okay, you could say that's a bit loud. We can bring it down. You know, we can just a little bit if you just want to add a little bit more, or big or a giant amount, whatever effect you're going for there.
Now I'm feeling rather cold.
So if we take it away,
Now I'm feeling rather cold.
right, in the gap here, nothing going on, just sort of silence, the vocal disappears. Okay, but we turn our read on.
Now I'm feeling rather cold.
We've got the vocal trailing out a bit. It's extending on. It's not having such a big gap there, okay? Now, as I said, the client didn't want that in that spot, but they wanted it in this spot. So quite happy to honor the client with that one. Now, the other one we've got here is we've got another spot, and I've got another send here. Okay, and this is another effect again. So let's open up here and let's see what this one is actually doing.
Today.
So this one's a little bit different. This one here is actually turning the send on and off. So we've got our level of our send set to the way we want it, but we're turning it on to do a different type of effect. Okay, and this one here is our Vox SFX2. So it's a different parallel effects and it's a different delay. Okay, so this one's set to a half note, whereas our other one was set to quarter notes and has a bit of a different sort of effect going on. Okay, so two different delays doing two different things. So in this one here, if I was to turn read off, but actually turn on this delay all the time, this is what we get with this one.
I found myself carrying on, oh no. I found myself carrying on, oh no.
So that's what the sound of that one is. So we play it again with it
I
off.
found myself carrying on, oh no.
And that's a half note. But the reason we're automating this one is because it doesn't sound any good through the rest of the song, right? But it created a nice effect in this spot here with a big gap to give it that feel. So if we bring it in the mix, and this is what we have with it off, with no automation. Right, so there's a big gap, very dry. Now if we turn our read on, where this delay is now going to get turned on for this period, we end up with this. So you'll hear that you get the day. Fills in that gap, adds a lot more sort of life to it, and gets that vocal to continue on a little bit further than it was and keep you interested instead of a sudden big gap. Now, as I said, you can use that technique any way you like. You can change levels. As you can see here, we've got different volume levels per section. So you might have where these are bigger gaps here. These ones here, you might...
You're in the way. You got to stay. Don't run away this time.
So you can change the levels. You can change how long they happen, what words they repeat on. As you can see, I've just targeted the last words of each one of these phrases with that. And this one here, as I said, it's very rare that I do this one and I do different delays. So you can have lots and lots of different time delays that you can automate in and out, bring them on, off, change the volume on certain ones as you go through. And you can see I do that all through the song there to create that texture and that feel for those tracks. So there you go. That is end of phrase delay automation. Let me know what you think of this technique in the comments. Do you do this approach? Do you have a better approach? How do you sort of tackle this? Let me know. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you have any questions about this technique, please feel free to put them in the comments. I would love to help wherever I can. Again, if you like the video, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.